Hi everybody, this is Alchemist 2, and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently finished reading Angels Walking, book number 1 by Kingsbury, and this has a familiar air to it like Chronicles of Brothers, but it's not so, well, yeah, it actually is detailed in its own way. It's just written differently, and it's still very intriguing and interesting, and as a master wordsmith that Karen is, she pulls the reader into the story immediately. And the main character, his name's Tyler, and he's a pitcher for the Blue Wahoos, and what happens is he tears his labrum, unfortunately, and I'm not going to say what happens, but what occurs with him is unfortunately tragic and rather emotional and heartrending to read. And he loved this girl named Samantha, and he was the only one that called her Sammy. And Sammy, she is dating a very dependable, safe, intellectual man named Arnie Bell, and she realizes that this relationship is not making her happy. Arnie is into the realm of law, and she comes to realize that dependable and reliable is not what she wants. And she thinks of the past that she could have had with Tyler. Of course, you have two angels involved. You have Ember and Beck, who are part of the Angels Walking team, and they're supposed to facilitate the birth of a young man who could possibly change humanity as a whole. So for this mission to be successful is of the utmost priority. It's very well written. It's extremely good, and I'm looking forward to reading Chasing Sunsets, which is the second book in the series. I'm not sure how many books she's going to write. I'm not certain if it's going to be like Chronicles of Narnia and 7 books, because I know that she would write about 4 or 5 in a series, like the Take 1 through 5. I think it's Take 1 through 5 series that she wrote not too long ago. They're still fresh, and if you go looking on the inside as to her more life-changing fiction, you see all of the books that she has written. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's mostly, she mostly has quintets and then quadrologies. But everything that she's written I've really savored, and at the end, if you read toward the end, I'm not going to tell you what happens here, but it's really quite inspirational, I think. I'm just going to read her letter at the end. Dear reader friend, I was on a flight from Texas to Arkansas during my last book tour when God gave me the idea for the Angels Walking series. It sort of came over me all at once. Yeah, I can relate to that. Like the realization of a first love or an unforgettable sunrise. I pulled out my notepad and began to scribble the ideas down as quickly as they came. 40 minutes later, when the flight landed, I had written more than 30 pages of outlines and synopses and character sketches. I had the sense that God had met me there, 30,000 feet off the ground, and that the next 4 books might be, okay, so it's going to be 5. In fact, the only time I felt this way when I first outlined the Baxter family books. I was on a flight then, too. So why Angels Walking? Why a series that gives you a glimpse of the unseen, a chance to walk where the angels walk? For one reason, contemporary literature has long been fascinated with the supernatural, usually the dark side of it. Look at the series Supernatural. Vampires, witches, dragons, zombies, they are the subjects of so much of our entertainment. What about the light side? See, the Bible says the supernatural world isn't one of merely of our imaginations. I know that for a fact. Rather, it is more real and lasting than anything in our tangible existence. in the Bible. 2 Corinthians 4:18 says, "So if we fix our eyes on what is seen, not on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but the unseen is eternal." Throughout the Bible, verses discuss the very real existence of angels. My favorite is Hebrews 13:2. "Don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing some people have shown hospitality to angels without being aware of it." See that? Without knowing it. That's the part I love. That's the whole point of the Angels Walking series. Most of the time, when angels walk this planet, we miss it. We have no idea. Sure, we might hesitate when the right person brings us the right message or a bit of help, exactly when we need it. And actually, I can vouch for that. My dad and I call these cosmic nudges or winks from God. We rarely ask ourselves, was that an angel? For years I've been writing life-changing fiction. God puts a story in my heart, but He has so many other hearts in mine. I hear that from time to time again, I am just a small part of the process. I've also reminded you for years that God has great plans for your life. Jeremiah 29:11 tells us that. With the Angels Walking series, I can bring both these elements together. My prayer is that after reading this book, you'll look a little more intently for God's fingerprints in your life. Well, I've done so before I even picked this up. His voice is in your story. Maybe now you'll pay more attention to the little miracles that happen all the time. And because of this series, every once in a while when someone brings you a message or crucial bit of help, you'll wonder if this was a case of Hebrews 13:2. And you'll thank God because He would move heaven and earth for you. He'd go to the cross for you. And sometime He'll even send angels for you. Angels walking. Light and love, Karen Kingsbury. And then she shares an angel encounter in the back of the book. But if you're a fan of her work, then pick up Angels Walking because it's absolutely sensational and nothing could be further from the truth. And like I said, I'm looking forward to reading book 2. So until next time. Ciao.